And joining us right now is Caroline Glick. She's the senior contributing editor at the Jerusalem Post and also author of her book, The Israeli Solution. Today is Election Day in Israel. And how many more hours there, Caroline Glick, until the polls close?
I think that we have about 6 more hours till the polls close. I think that they close at 8 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here.
So by all accounts, it looks like it's an incredibly close race here. Tell me, first of all, how does the election go there in Israel? Is this just like in England where they're voting for the parliament and they're voting for the party, and then depending on who gets the majority, that's who your prime minister will be? Or is there a separate election for prime minister?
It's more like the British system. It's a little bit different because we have proportional representation. So there they vote for their representatives of their districts. We don't have electoral districts here. Everything is done nationally. So you vote for a party. You don't vote for a person. So
all right.
It's a competition between parties.
And tell me, is it the feeling there that it is incredibly close for Prime Minister Netanyahu's re-election, or has there been any movement in the last couple of days?
Well, it's hard to know because election laws here prohibits the publication of polls in the last, I think, 4 days before the election. So we haven't seen any polls over the past several days. But yes, in the trend that was going into the last stretch of the election was that the Likud was going down and that the left-wing major party that is competing with Likud for forming the next governing coalition was doing well. But in general, I think that we're looking right now at a gridlock in terms of the electoral prospects because although the left-wing party, the Labour Party, has more Knesset seats, they don't have a coalition of 61 to put together. So it's going to be an interesting next several weeks seeing who is tasked with putting together a coalition government by the president and who succeeds.
Yeah, so it matters. Let's say Benjamin Netanyahu, even if he comes in second, could form a coalition government that would put him in power, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's very interesting to watch that. Okay, so let me in the last day or so, Benjamin Netanyahu has come out and said that there will be no two-state solution. There will be no Palestinian state. How does that change the equation? How does that potentially change how people would vote?
I think that right now he was trying to compete with the more ideologically inclined right-wing parties to get votes from their voters to come to Likud so that Likud gets more mandates in the Knesset than the Labour Party does. But in general, I think what he was saying was just a reflection of reality. The Palestinians aren't interested in the state, and there is no Palestinian leadership today in the West Bank or in Gaza that is interested in making a peace accord with Israel. So from a factual perspective, what he said is absolutely true. There's no chance that Israel and the Palestinians will reach any sort of peaceable accord in the next several years because the Palestinians simply aren't interested in one.
It's no secret, Caroline Glick, that the Obama administration has been at odds with Netanyahu. And, of course, just recently we saw it really rear its ugly head with this speech that the prime minister gave to a joint session of Congress. But now there are suggestions that the Obama administration has been meddling in the election effort there. What's the feeling like there in Israel about that?
Oh, no, it's very clear to us here, I mean, to the general public as well. Some care less, but that the Obama administration and its allies in the United States and the donor community have had a major role being played in this hate campaign that has been driving support for the left. We've never seen a negative campaign like the one that's been going on here. It's been run by an organization, straw organization really, called V15, or Victory 2015, that is really just an outlet of the American 501c3 organization One Voice. And One Voice has received direct grants from the State Department in the past, and now also it's being run, the campaign, the hate campaign against Netanyahu is being run by Jeremy Bird, who was responsible for Obama's field campaign in his re-election bid in 2012. So this is very clear that the fingerprints of the Obama administration are all over the place, and there were other direct interventions on the part of the State Department training Arab political operatives to get out the vote in the Arab sector, also to try to generate more support for a left-wing government. So they have been very, very active in this campaign. And it's funny when you think about the kind of intervention that they're doing that's so harmful to Israeli democracy and our democratic process. when they were attacking Netanyahu for a supposed breach of protocol and coming to Congress to speak at the request of the speaker. But here they are sending operatives to Israel, and there's a campaign, a multi-million-dollar campaign here going on, which is pure hatred against the prime minister, to demonize him and to make him the most hated person in Israel with the intention of overthrowing his government.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, they criticize Benjamin Netanyahu and the Republicans in Congress for allowing the speech to go forward, and on the other hand, they're sending their operatives over there to campaign against him.
Exactly. I mean, just imagine if, the German government or the Canadian government or what have you, or any allied government were sending not only money in order to help Republicans defeat Obama, but we're actually sending over operatives to teach Republicans how to defeat Obama. That was something that would just never be accepted by the American people, and rightly so, but this is the thing that we're seeing here now.
Wow. All right, so give us your gut call. How do you think it's going to play out?
I think that Netanyahu is going to be the next prime minister, and I think that it's very important for him to be the next prime minister. I think that the signal that will be sent to the Americans from Israel if he's not the next prime minister is that there's no reason to oppose the deal that Obama is making with the mullahs in Iran that will enable them to emerge as a hegemonic power in the region and as a nuclear armed state. I think that Israelis understand that, and I think that the dynamic has changed here pronouncedly in the last several days, and I think that he will be the next prime minister, reelected, and form the next governing coalition.
Can I ask you, in terms of Caroline Glick, in terms of the tone and what's been coming out of Washington with regard to the debate over the United States' support of Israel, was something that had never been debated up until the last several years. What do the Israeli people make of this? Are they questioning now whether America is solidly in their corner, or do they see what's happening here? Do they follow American politics to know the struggle between the Democrats and the Republicans?
The Israelis are not that aware of what's happening inside of the United States in terms of the internal political wranglings in the partisan political system. But there is a very clear sense, the overwhelming majority of Israelis consider President Obama to be anti-Israel. These are polling numbers that no president has ever received before. The lack of trust in Obama is almost wall-to-wall here. And I think that his behavior towards Prime Minister Netanyahu in the month which preceded Netanyahu's speech before the joint houses of Congress on March 3rd simply increased the sense of Israelis that under Obama, at least, not only does the United States not have Israel's back, but it's more interested in stabbing Israel in the back than in preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. So I think that's been the sense here, and it's very frightening. I mean, Israelis have always trusted our alliance with the United States, and now we're finding ourselves in a position where the thing that we always felt that we could put our faith in, in the American support and American in our alliance with the United States, that faith is gone, and people, I think, are greeting it with a great deal of not only frustration and anger, but also with a lot of anxiety.
Well, Republicans in the House and Senate who have the majority in those two chambers, they've been trying to shout very loudly that there is a lot of support for Israel here in the U.S. government, just not necessarily from the White House, but certainly from Capitol Hill. I guess they need to be shouting a little louder so that the people in Israel can hear that. Caroline Glick, thanks so much for joining us. I'm sorry, we have to leave it there. We always love hearing from you. Maybe we'll check in later today as the election results come in.
Thanks, Caroline.